Hey guys, what's up? It's Kasamity here. How you guys doing today? And nice and loud in this video. I really like it now that I can actually record because I've remembered. But I've been playing around with this new weapon called the Unreal Celebration, and it's just so fun to play with. You don't even know how much fun it is. It really is. I was just screwing around with it for the past 10 minutes when I should have been recording it. And then I was like, oh. So, we're going to be looking at the Unreal Celebration, which I think is a kind of like in relation to the fact that you beat the game once you kill the Moonlord, because he's like the hardest boss in the game. Not a big deal, you know. The huge, not at all the hardest thing to do. I had to make a frickin' farm. But we are friggin' celebrating now that we have beaten him. Obviously, we did beat him a while ago, but the friggin' celebration fires rockets. Don't know why that part got confused, but the rockets are disguised as fireworks, which is sick. And the biggest thing I like about this weapon is that the explosion actually goes through walls, which I am super happy about, just because it does so much damage. And then if I go into stealth mode, it's kind of just like it's so hard not to beat the crap out of everything you kind of run around with once you have this. And I do kind of think this is probably the most overpowered rocket launcher in the game, obviously, because it is an end game rocket launcher, and there's no real end game bow. I think not that even though I think there might be. I don't really use bows that much because I do have the Unreal SDMG, which I think is by far the best weapon in the game using default things. So I could have the worst armor sets in the world, and the Unreal SDMG would still absolutely annihilate everything. Whereas with some weapons, you do need a setup based around them. Like, for instance, the Star Fury. You don't need something built around it. The Demonic Solar Eruption, again, you can kind of do things around it, but I wouldn't really recommend that because it's other than a melee set. I don't know what I was saying for half a second there. I was like, wait, what did I just say? Sorry. But certain weapons like obviously the vampire knives, you do need to have a pretty good melee setup late game, just because, you do need to do a certain amount of damage to trigger the event of getting your health back, which is really annoying sometimes, to be honest, just because it's not fun, especially if you run into an enemy where you do 1 damage with the godly vampire knives. You're not getting any health back. I think you have to do at least 20 damage, I think, which isn't too hard early game, but end game and late game, it can get pretty annoying, especially if you do start fighting hard enemies like the Paladin. I know if you don't have a good melee setup, it will not do anything. I know in hardcore mode, or expert mode, sorry, the Skeletron doesn't actually take normal damage until you kill his hands, which is very annoying, and I actually got stuck on that for a long time. But yeah, I feel like most of the ranged weapons in this game don't really need a setup, especially this one. If you can afford Rocket 1, which is actually what I'm using, then you can definitely use this weapon, and it is definitely a good weapon. And I do recommend using this on bosses, even though it does not have homing. I think it would do very well against the Golem due to the fact that it's an explosive, which is actually very interesting, and I never would have thought that. But we're actually going to go grab a power cell and fight. See who the winner is. So yes, I have been farming. I literally went AFK the entire day today, farming. Did you notice? No, not just the 50 power cells. Oh, that's so good. And the reason I do farm power cells, among other things, is out of early-ish late game. It's kind of intermediate late game. The Golem really does test the shit that you use, I find. And it does have also pretty good drops. So we're going to fight him. And yeah, so weapon does a lot of work, as long as it also makes him kind of look like you're kind of tripping because it's like fireworks while you're fighting a boss, which is, not that good, but it looks really good. It's very appealing to the eye, which is another thing that's a really big pro about this weapon, is that I can actually have fun using it, and it actually does demolish the enemies pretty quickly. As you can see, that most of them are one shot, and obviously the golem did get melted pretty well. Now, one thing I will note about this weapon is that the accuracy is not always the best. As you can see, sometimes rockets go in different directions, like that, and sometimes they're actually really accurate, like the one that just happened there, because it fired 2 rockets, and they kind of just do their own thing, because it always fires 2 rockets, and I think some rockets have different effects, because so far, some rockets make smaller explosions, and also some rockets don't even make explosions, but do massive amounts of damage to the enemy that you hit. And that's actually, I think it's pretty rare, because so far I'm just getting, the normal average kind of explosion, star, circle, circly type pattern, and I really haven't gotten one where it didn't explode, which is weird, because I usually sometimes got that when I was actually playing around with this before I actually started to record. But all in all, this is a very good weapon, and I think that the rockets are kind of smart sometimes. I think that sometimes they do blow up when they are about to hit an enemy, which is always a good thing, because it's just kind of like an added aim assist, because you can't have chlorophyte rockets, unfortunately. That would be really, really overpowered, and crystal rockets would also be pretty overpowered, because crystal bullets were honestly the most overpowered thing I've ever actually played with in 1.2, and in 1.3 I haven't really played with them really late. I haven't really played with the different ammo types so far. Ever since I started this character, I haven't really played around with them. I know that I did in fact run crystal ammo like once, but that was off camera, I think, and that was just to make some because I thought I was going to use it. But usually I just run chlorophyte and the new ammo, which is the luminite ammo. Now, it's kind of sad that Rocket doesn't have their own, but you really don't need it, because Rocket 1 is already so overpowered, and if you just go all the way up to Rocket 5, which is very possible, then this weapon is honestly overpowered as it is right now. And I can only imagine it getting more and more and more overpowered, as well as generally, if you don't have a good PC, lagging the crap out of your game. So you can imagine how much I love using this weapon on my old laptop, which is currently what I'm recording on, because I haven't actually had a chance to transfer any of my recording software, but once I do, I'm going to have a lot of fun, because my PC will actually be good. So that's going to be it for this episode. I think this is a really long episode, actually. I just had the chance to talk. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. And yeah, it's a celebration. So, celebrate. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. And